Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and there's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everybody, to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast, the podcast for Packer fans for at least for tonight, maybe bigger Brewers fans than Packer fans. I am Charles, and with me, as always, is Marcus. Marcus, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Charles. Yourself?
I am pumped. Obviously, it's big game against the Cincinnati Bengals, our second AFC North game in as many weeks. But to be honest, we were recording this Friday morning, and I am very excited for the next two nights where the Brewers are taking on the Atlanta Braves in the playoffs. So it's exciting. I'm going to be in Milwaukee tonight, so I might be repping my Brewers stuff instead of my Packers stuff.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I'm excited for this series too. I think a lot of people are really high on this team, even though they kind of slowed it down a little bit the end of the season. But I think that was probably more so to protect their pitching lineup than anything else. So I think this is a good team when they're healthy. I think they are healthy, and I think we can expect them to do some damage in the playoffs. But we are not here to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers. We are here to talk about the Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers. And they are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. And I think I heard somewhere that this is the only team Aaron Rodgers has never beaten the Bengals in Cincinnati, if I recall correctly. Yes.
That's interesting. So we must not play. I mean, I know it's on a rotation, but the AFC North teams just seem very foreign because there was a similar line that we didn't bring up last time, where this last week was the first time Rodgers and Roethlisberger played since the Super Bowl 11 plus years ago because of injuries due to Rodgers the last time the teams played. But yeah, it's I don't feel like I remember the last time we played Cincinnati. I'm assuming it was 4 years ago, but we must have lost.
Yep, I don't recall either. I think the Packers with Aaron Rodgers are 1-2 against the Bengals, and that win came at Lambeau. But they haven't beaten them in Cincinnati. So here, another opportunity to get that bugaboo off the back.
Well, I was going to say, Cincinnati's kind of an interesting team because I think a lot of people are talking about them right now. They're 3-1, a couple nail biters, but if you look back at their roster, they beat the Steelers, who we played. They beat the Vikings in overtime, and then last week they just beat Jacksonville. Their one loss is to our NFC divisional rival, the Chicago Bears. The Bears. So honestly, this is for them. I think I hate to say it, but more important of a game in terms of a statement. Right? This is the first team, in the top 5, top 10, if you will. That Cincinnati is playing, and I think they're going to be hyped for this game in front of their home crowd.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, whenever the Packers come to town, that's an exciting day for opposing teams as well. and there's no joke in there, really. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like LeBron James coming to town, but you've got Aaron Rodgers coming to town. And I think any chance you get to see them play, and then obviously the Packers fans just travel well. And we're kind of spread out all over the country. But yeah, to your point, I mean, they've won a couple close games, but I think that's what good teams are able to do. Now, it may be too early to determine if the Bengals are a good team, but they're certainly a capable team. They've got some playmakers on offense and defense. They've got a really good up-and-coming quarterback in Joe Burrow. They've got some receivers. They've got a top running back who may or may not be playing this week, I think. But yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for them to kind of make a statement to the league that, hey, we are the Bengals and we are here. We're going to be a contender now. So
100%, and I think let's talk about those matchups. Explosive receivers with a good young quarterback. My opening could have been, this is the podcast for Packer fans who are more concerned about Jair Alexander being out than the Bengals leader. This is going to be a tough task for a thinning secondary against, like you said, an explosive offense with some playmakers on there.
Yeah, for sure. And, like I said, Joe Mixon may or may not play in this game. It looks like he didn't participate in the last couple of days of practice. He may, be a game day decision and gut it out. But, I mean, my guess is they're not going to want to play him, in NFC AFC game. Give him some time to recuperate and rest. But yeah, to your point, the Packers have, we've got Jair Alexander, who's almost 100% not going to participate. He's got a shoulder injury, an AC joint injury, I think they called it. I'm not really familiar with that injury, so I don't know how long that takes as far as like recovery or if it needs surgery or whatever. But
I've been refreshing my page ever since I mean, you and I texted each other right when that happened, and it was kind of a bummer because it's one of those injuries where the game was essentially over, and then Jair made that awesome tackle. But I mean, you and I texted each other right away, like, that's a broken collarbone.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not. So the AC joint is like the tendons that connect the bones together, and it may be something that requires surgery. And according to LaFleur, they're trying to avoid it. If they do avoid surgery, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. It appears, but obviously they haven't released a lot of info, so we don't know how bad it is. But according to all my googling, I mean, this I'm personally kind of thinking best case scenario, this is a 4 to 6 week injury, and worst case scenario, surgery would be season ending for Jair. So let's avoid that, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And just to kind of hedge our bets, the Packers did pick up a cornerback off the Arizona Cardinals practice squad, a guy named Rasul Douglas, I think is how you say his name. Yep. I don't know a ton about this guy. I mean, he's a big guy, kind of a Kevin King-esque, 6'2", 210 pounds, long reach. He was drafted by the Eagles, won a Super Bowl there. Played in Carolina last year and was waived in the offseason and got picked up by the Cardinals this offseason. So, I mean, I'm not really that high on this guy. I mean, he was a practice squad player just a couple of weeks ago, and he's seems like he's had some solid seasons, but he didn't seem like a player on the upward trajectory. Now we'll see if he is able to have a role here in this defense. Kevin King is still on the injury report for his concussion. I don't know if he's going to play. He did participate.
He was limited.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, yeah, he was limited this week, but my guess is he'll be out there, but we'll kind of see. Otherwise, we're going to have a couple of other guys try to step up and kind of fill that gap. And it looks like, luckily, Eric Stokes seems to be a player on the rise.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely making some plays. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Kind of like week 1, Packers Saints. We don't want to make too many judgments on a smaller sample size, but he definitely was up to the task the last week when Kevin King was out. Stepping back from this game and looking at what this season means to the Packers and the Packers organization, assumingly being all in, are you surprised, and I'm not as familiar with the name, but are you surprised that the front office didn't go after all-pro cornerback Stephen Gilmore when the Patriots released him this week and actually ended up trading him to the Carolina Panthers? Without knowing much about him myself, all I see is a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback who is out for the next couple of weeks because he is on the injured reserve list. Are you kind of disappointed that the Packers maybe didn't take a look at potentially bringing a more veteran player on instead of doing what we seem to always do and look at practice squad players and hope to find gems?
Yeah, I mean, I know the Packers were interested in him, and I know he was interested in coming to the Packers. But when you've got to pay top tier talent and you just don't have the cap room, the cap went down this year due to the revenue loss from COVID. So it doesn't really surprise me that we weren't able to make it work. And I think, again, ideally, we would have been able to pick up somebody like him. But at the end of the day, you still have to pay these guys. And, we've got to pay a lot of other players, next year and this year already. So,
well, this is definitely not a conversation that's going to end here today with the news that Zadarius Smith last week got surgery and is likely out for the rest of the season. I mean, the Packers are potentially in need for a big move. I know we're not known for it, but this year does feel different, based on kind of the off season that we had. So hopefully hopefully as a true fan who doesn't care about putting the salary cap problems away for a year and just focused on this year, it would be fun to see a big move that can really impact this defense in a positive way, especially if Jair is going to miss more than a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Why not go all in if this is really the last dance? But we'll see. We'll hopefully figure it out. But yeah, it would have been nice to see a guy with that caliber of a career come to Green Bay and help out on the back end.
Well, we got the players we have for this weekend, and one side of the ball that I'm definitely not concerned about is our offense. I am going to take credit for another accurate prediction. I'm getting better at this, Marcus. Someone should start paying, or maybe people should start listening to the podcast in general. Randall Cobb had a hell of a game last week, picking up some clutch third downs in the first half and getting into the end zone not once, but twice. How do you like them apples, Marcus?
Hey, I think we were both right last week with our predictions on the offense. Randall Cobb had a big game. He stepped up in a big way, 2 touchdowns. I think he had, 80 yards or something like that, or 70 yards. But A.J. Dillon on the ground coming up big. I mean, I think he was over 100 yards all-purpose, and then should have had a touchdown, but got tripped up at like the 2-yard line or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, oh, come on, you can do it. You're almost there, No high stepping or anything for him, unfortunately, but maybe next time.
Yeah, 100%. I was a little surprised to see them not go right back to him to have him punch it through, but I think that was Randall's second touchdown after that trip up on the 1 or 2 yard line. So, hey, for the first time in however many weeks, we aren't complaining that we were overly heavy on Davante Adams. Davante had a relatively quiet night, and so did Aaron Jones. Aaron's kind of been nursing a hurt ankle a little bit the last couple of weeks, so that's I think why we saw a little bit more of A.J. Dillon. And we're going to need both those guys to be on all cylinders. The Cincinnati Bengals are like tied top 5, top 7 or something like that in run stop, allowing like 3 to 4 yards per carry. So we're going to need a big game out of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to hopefully take some pressure again off of the best hookup in NFL between Rodgers and Davante Adams.
For sure. And we talk about this ad nauseum, but maybe Davante getting double teamed in some ways can be a blessing in disguise, because we don't want him to get hurt, obviously. We don't want him to miss games. But we've seen success in this offense when he has been out. And I think a lot of that's due to Aaron Rodgers just being, kind of surrendering to what the defense gives him, and then hitting the open guy, getting the ball out of his hands, hitting shorter throws if he needs to, not forcing things downfield. So if he's getting double teamed and we've got Randall Cobb open in the slot, or we've got Alan Lazard open down the sideline, or if you've got Robert Tonyan on a slant, which, man, you talk about a really solid connection, and Rodgers and Tonyan are usually 100%. And Rodgers just missed him last week, and I know, I've read a couple articles and listened to a couple podcasts this week that think Robert Tonyan is due for a big game, and I would love to see him break out.
Oh yeah, big target running down the middle of the field. To your point, defense, cheating over to Davante Adams because you have to. So it's to your point. Hopefully that opens up everything else. I don't think it's a sure thing because, it's been this way for the last 2 seasons, right? And finally last week we saw it a little bit with the ball being spread around. I think another key element with which again usually goes without saying is going to be this offensive line again. We've been, dinged up the last few weeks and we've held our own. Rodgers has been sacked more than he typically has this far through the season. I think the Steelers got to him 3 times. But again, I don't know, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I don't know the Cincinnati Bengals as well as some of the folks we play with more often. But I do know one thing. Keeping Aaron Rodgers upright is key to success here this week on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. But again, 2 of those sacks were kind of garbage. I mean, one was the T.J. Watt trip.
Oh my God! That didn't get
called.
No, let's talk about that. Let's stop. Let's talk about that. How do we get screwed on a trip? I mean, we didn't get screwed the other week on tripping. I mean, I could see why we got called for tripping, but to everyone's point, it doesn't hardly get called. And there was the proof in the pudding right there the next week against us. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's a flashback to the Clay Matthews a couple years ago with the, landing on the quarterback situation. It's like, okay.